Is it fair to review something like this when you've only read one issue? I'd say yes, because a first issue is a first impression, and a first issue should be enough of a hook. Besides, I've done it before. Kind of, when I reviewed the first chapter of Boruto, back when I thought that being slightly drunk, looking like an unkempt scrub in front of a camera was a good idea. Well, right now I'm sober, and I've got an opportunity to talk about a comic book series that I just started reading, along with a lot of other people because it's brand spanking new. Now, of all of my consumption-based hobbies, it's the hardest for me to keep up with comic books. I don't go to the comic book stores as often as I'd like, and I've neither the time nor the inclination to keep up with the sheer volume of things that get released. Also, I prefer full volumes as opposed to individual issues as it pertains to comic books. Still, every now and then, I'll go to the store and I'll grab anything that catches my eye. Usually that ends up being X-Men comics. X-Men to me has always been among my favorite series of books because I find it so accessible. Now, of course, when I say that sentence, it sounds ridiculous. X-Men accessible? There's 54 years of history and characters, not to mention all the reboots and event comics. How is any of that accessible? Well, it's not exactly what I mean. Yes, there are a ton of X-Men characters, and it can be damn near impossible to keep them all straight. Just ask Bobby Drake. What I mean by accessible is that I can always get behind a new team-up. Because I've always been partial to team-based superhero stories. Hell, that's why I write one myself. Series like Teen Titans, Young Justice, and X-Men are huge influences on my writing, because I love the story possibilities around taking a group of different personalities with different powers and abilities and teaming them up. X-Men always works for me because there's so many great characters to choose from. So I saw X-Men Blue #1 on the recently released section at my local Newberry Comics, and my eye was immediately drawn to it. Jean Grey leading a team that has Iceman, Angel, Cyclops, and Beast? That's an interesting team-up. Yeah, sure, I'll bite. Let's give it a shot. So I read it, and 9/10 of it is pretty average. We get introduced to the team dynamics, and they're pretty stock to start. Bobby's the comic relief, Cyclops is uptight, Angel and Beast are kind of along for the ride, and oh yeah, Jean Grey's here too. It's far too early to really criticize these characters for not jumping out at you immediately, because there's still plenty of time to do that, but the issue begins in medias res. The team is already in the middle of a mission. There is no build-up to it, and the team reaches their target location on page 2. From there, they have a pretty bare-bones fight with Black Tom Cassidy and Juggernaut, which allows them to show off some low-level moves. There are a couple of team-up moments, but nothing to really wow you. It was a basic fight against some chump bad guys. Now, I can already see a potential criticism being lobbied against me here. It's unfair for me to make these judgments because there were other comic books that came before this one that feature these specific characters. They even wax nostalgic for moments that they've shared together in this very book, and that's fine, I'd agree, but I didn't read the original 5 storyline. And I'm not doing a goddamn homework assignment to find out what books I need to read to get a glimpse into these characters' backstories and motivations. That's ridiculous. To me, if I pick up a comic book and it's got that 001 right there indicating a first issue, this needs to reintroduce me to the characters, and it needs to do so in a way that can inform a newcomer without oversimplifying it for somebody who's been following along the whole time. And if your rebuttal to that is, well, that's too hard, I don't accept that. That's why these guys here get paid the money they get paid. So needless to say, things weren't exactly looking good for me continuing this series, when an ending twist happened that actually did hook me. That was the 1/10 that I was talking about that was actually really good. I'm not going to spoil what it was, because this is a brand new comic book series, and I want to give everybody the opportunity to read it, but suffice it to say that it was a twist that was very interesting to me, and there was also a side story that was brought up about another popular X-Men character that I'm curious to see how it gets integrated into the main plot. But it all begs the question, should I continue reading? It had a twist that surprised me, and it got me very interested. Also, it had a B story that came in at the end regarding a character that I really, really like, but on the other hand, there wasn't much to the main team's personalities yet, and nothing really wowed me about their use of their abilities. The short answer is that yes, I will keep reading, but it's on a very short leash. I do trust Cullen Bunn enough to write the ship, because I think he's done a good job with character writing in the past that he can make something work with this team up. Also, based on the outro that was written by Bunn, it seems to show that he's got quite a bit of ambition for the series as a whole, so maybe it will be one worth keeping up with. Or it'll be like any of the other dozens of different X-Men side stories that come out on a nearly constant basis and just blend in with the rest of them. Time will tell. Hi, 2 seconds, if you don't mind a little off-the-cuff, unscripted addendum. since I recorded this video, I actually went to the store and I picked up X-Men Blue #2, and my thoughts are still essentially the same. There hasn't really been much in terms of improvement from issue 1 to issue 2. There's marginal improvement. I'm not going to say there's no improvement. Marginal improvement in the characters, in that a couple of them have been given something to do outside of the team dynamic, which is still pretty lackluster. There isn't a lot in terms of, like, team-up moves during fights. In this issue, there's only one fight. It lasts for maybe a page or two, and it's against a hologram Magneto. Not a good fight at all from really any perspective. There's a couple of hidden character motivations that are kind of what are driving the intrigue for this series right now for a couple of characters, and I'm not going to spoil it because, again, this is still brand spanking new. I'm recording this on Sunday. This came out on Friday, which actually was when I recorded the previous bit when I was wearing a different sport team jersey. I had to wear this today because you don't care about basketball, especially not in a comic book review. The whole point that I'm trying to make, though, is that I'm going to give X-Men Blue one more shot. It's got one more issue to show marked improvement, and if it doesn't, I think 3 issues is fair to say, sorry, I gave you a shot, but no bueno. I'm not going to do a full video on it, so just follow my Twitter and you can find out what I thought about this. So, thank you for watching this, though. I'll see you next time.